sends and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Hey everyone, Miss Amanda here. Today we're going to be reading Leonardo the Terrible Monster. And of course we got Leonardo here listening in. This is written and illustrated by Mo Willems. A huge shout out to Hyperion Books for letting me share this with you today. Right? Let's get started. Leonardo the Terrible Monster. Leonardo was a terrible monster. He couldn't scare anyone. He's not that scary. He didn't have 1,462 teeth like Tony. He wasn't big like Eleanor. And he wasn't just plain weird like Hector. He's got a really big hat. Leonardo tried very hard to be scary, but he just wasn't. One day, Leonardo had an idea. He would find the most scaredy cat kid in the whole world and scare the tuna salad out of him. Leonardo researched until he found the perfect candidate. Sam. Leonardo snuck up on the poor, unsuspecting boy. Uh-oh. Grrr! Burger, 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 roar! And the monster gave it all he had. Until the little boy started to cry. Yes! Cheered Leonardo. I did it! I finally scared the tuna salad out of someone. No, you didn't, snapped Sam. Oh, yeah? Replied Leonardo. Then why are you crying? My mean big brother stole my action figure right out of my hands while I was still playing with it, and then he broke it on purpose, and it's my favorite toy, and I tried to fix it, but I couldn't, and I got so mad I kicked the table, and I stubbed my toe in the same foot that I hurt last month when I accidentally slipped in the bathtub after I got some soap in my eyes, trying to wash out the bird poop that my brother's cockatoo pooped on my head, and I don't have any friends, and my tummy hurts. That's why. Then Leonardo made a very big decision. It's okay. Instead of being a terrible monster, he would become a wonderful friend. But that didn't mean that he couldn't try to scare his friend every now and then. Boo! The end. That was a great story. Let's go make a monster for ourselves. Let's go.
Okay, so what you're going to need for this is paper bags, scissors, markers, crayons, anything else you have in your imagination. Ready? Alright. So of course we're going to start off with our paper bag. And we're going to use it upside down so that the bottom right here is going to be his mouth. So anything you want to be underneath is going to go underneath, and anything that's going to be on top is going to be on top. I know it sounds a little confusing, but I'll show you what I mean. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to give him some eyes. Now you can use whatever you have at home. I have some googly eyes here. You can draw them. You can give him 10 eyes. You can give them 1 eye. You can give them no eyes. It's totally up to you. The only thing you're limited by here is your imagination. There is my little guy with his googly eyes. Now, next thing I'm going to do is add pom-pom nose. Now, if you're going to use pom-poms, just as a reminder, put a lot of glue down and really press it down. Make sure it sticks. Now, this monster that I'm making is definitely on the sillier side. You can make your monster as silly or scary as you want. I'm going to use some feathers for some ears. Now for the feathers, I'm just going to actually rub the feather on the glue because it's a little easier and neater that way. Just stick it right on. Make sure we press down. Now, I do have another feather that I'm going to use for his other side. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do hair, or a couple different ideas after this. So, alright, so now I'm going to do is take a pipe cleaner and just kind of wrap it around my finger and make it super springy like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm actually going to glue it to the back side so he has tape. You can give them arms, you can give them legs, you can give them tails, you can give them tentacles. I'll show you an example of that in a second. Got some glue on the table, please be careful. Fix it a little bit. And then now we're going to do the mouth. So I decided to give my guy a bright purple tongue. I had some of this purple foam left over from another craft. I'm just kind of cut out a tongue shape. Now your tongue, or you don't have to give them a tongue, you can give them teeth. I can show you how to do that in a minute. But the tongue is going to go underneath the flap so that when you're playing with it, you can open it up and you can see it. See? Right like that. Now what I'm going to use is I'm going to use some tissue paper that I have and kind of glue in random spots all over. Give him some fur. We're just going to go along here and do that. Now, of course, you can make dots by drawing them on. You can use more pom-poms. Whatever you got at home. You also don't need to give dots at all. Alright. And there is my very silly monster. Now, I'm going to show you one more time. This one I'm going to make into a cyclops, which means they only have one eye. Okay, and then I'm going to show you how to make some teeth. So we're just going to chop up some paper. I used yellow. What you're going to do is make a whole bunch of triangles. You're just going to make cuts right on an angle. They can be as big as small. They don't have to be perfect. Now, when you take your triangles, they can be as big or small as you want on the monster itself, depending on how far you put them. So it's going to be long or short, depending on how far under the lid you put them. So now I'm going to put mine, I'm going to attach it to the top part, just so that teeth lift when I'm using him. Just used a quick little popsicle stick to make sure that's stuck down. There we go. And I'm just going to speed through putting the rest on. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just going to line them up. Doesn't have to be perfect. I had to do them at different levels, and I actually did 2 layers of teeth on him, just to make him a little silly. A lot of teeth there. See? Now they open up with him. Now I'm going to put a tongue underneath. You don't need to give them a tongue. I thought a bright blue tongue would be kind of silly. I'm just going to use paper for this part. You can make a pointy tongue, you can give them a split tongue, you can give them whatever you want. I just kind of went with a basic oval shape for his tongue for this one. Make sure it's glued down nice and right. I'm going to show you quick, see? When he opens his mouth, you see his tongue. That's kind of cool. Okay. Okay, so before we go, I'm going to show you a couple other monsters I made. This one's kind of Medusa-ish. Then we have this guy who's got lots of eyes and lots of fangs. I used some black paper for his wings, and I just stuck his tongue right underneath. Put these horns on just by gluing them to the back. Let me just show you. There we go. Now we actually have a quick surprise for you, so stay tuned and come along with me. Come on.
Well, that was a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to see what your monsters look like. Now, before we go, I have a bonus book for tonight. It's called Goodnight Goon, a petrifying parody by Michael Rex, and a huge shout out to Mr. Rex himself for sharing this book with us. Let's get started. Goodnight Goon. In the cold gray tomb, there was a gravestone, a black lagoon, and a picture of Martians taking over the moon. And there were 3 little mummies rubbing their tummies, and 2 hairy claws, and a set of jaws, and a loud screechy bat, and a black hat, and a skull and a shoe, and a pot full of goo, and a hairy old werewolf who's hollering, "Boo!" Good night, tomb. Good night, goon. Good night, Martians taking over the moon. Good night, bones and the black lagoon. Good night, mummies. Good night, tummies. Good night, claws and good night, jaws. Good night, moans and good night, groans. Good night, screechy bat and good night, hat. Good night, skull and good night, shoe. Good night, creature. Good night, goo. And good night to the old werewolf hollering, "Boo!" Good night, you. Get under there. Good night, creatures everywhere. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight, and I hope you have an awesome Halloween. See you soon.